Hey y'all, it's Cassie, and today I'm back with a sewing video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a bustier corset style top with a peplum bottom. Well, technically it isn't either of those because it has no boning, but it's a good way to get started and my fabric was too thin. There it is. Anyway, the first step is to go ahead and create your pattern. I already had an existing pattern piece for my top, so I was just adjusting it to have something that goes straight across the chest instead of a V-neck. By doing so, I think that you can really reuse your patterns, so once you make one, you can really use it to make anything else. And so I went ahead and cut that out, and it's going to have princess seams. Next, I took those pattern pieces and pinned them to my fabric that was folded over. I had the centerpiece be on the seam, or on the fold, because I don't want a seam down the middle. Well, my side piece is going to be just slightly off it, so I can cut and have two separate pieces that I can sew together. It's really important to make sure that you're cutting your side pieces together. That way you get two of them with the right sides different ways. And if you're cutting them out separately, just remember that you need to flip the piece. Okay. And once you have them cut out, you can go ahead and take them off your pattern paper. Usually I use flyers or old paper. Here I'm using some thick cardstock. And look, you have your pattern pieces. Now you want to repeat this with a lining fabric, and by doing a lining for the strapless top, it'll make a really nice seam at the top. Okay, and you're going to go ahead and pin the side pieces to the center piece. And make sure that you're doing this right sides together, and if there's no right side to your fabric, just ensure that you're pinning both of them so that there's the seams on the opposite side and then the good side where you don't have any evidence of the extra seam allowance. Anyway, once you pin those all, you can go ahead and feed that through the sewing machine. And so you're going to do this for both your lining and your good fabric, and after you've went along these edges, you're also going to want to top stitch them. Next, you need to make the back piece. So I went ahead and took the side of my garment and I measured the length of that, and then I just extended it out, and as you can see, it thins out because I wanted to have less grommets there. And similarly, just place it right sides together, sew it on there, and then pull that side and have it so it's flat and top stitch it. And try and have consistency with the direction of your top stitch. I had my top stitch always going toward the side it was closest to. That way it just looks a lot neater and symmetrical. Anyway, here is the top of the garment and how it's going so far. As you can see, here's the front, the bottom is still open and raw, and then so are the sides of the back. So we'll face that later. Now what I did is I cut out some 4 by around, I don't even think I measured it at this point, but probably around 70 inches. And I'm just going ahead and stitching along each side to create this tube and turning it inside out. This is going to act as the peplum at the bottom. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I am. But it's going to look kind of like a snake, and you're just going to have to keep pulling it through. Luckily this is big enough that you don't have to deal with a safety pin. Next, you're going to go ahead and iron this out and get it nice and flat. Even though ironing can be a pain, it's really important and can help you ensure that your lining fabric isn't sticking out past your good fabric that you want everyone to see. And then for the side, you're going to go ahead and fold in the fabric and give it a nice clean edge and iron that down first. That way it's nice and stuck there, and this way you avoid having to push out the corner. I just find this looks a lot nicer. So once you've ironed that, you can go ahead and fold the back on top of each other with the lining and the good fabric and iron that down again, and you'll see that your corner gets much nicer where the back meets the top of the bodice. Anyway, now that we have ironed everything, you can go ahead and top stitch the whole of the bodice except for the bottom. So as you do this, make sure there's no lining fabric peeking out, and you'll get a nice clean edge along almost every side of your bodice. Next, we're also going to top stitch the long strip for the peplum because this is what's going to be along the bottom of your top. And so you want that to look super nice. And yeah, it'll just make it look a lot cleaner and prevent it from getting all like snake-like again. Next, you're going to do a basting stitch along the opposite side, and this is just because we're attaching it to the bodice there, and along the bottom of the bodice do that basting stitch too. Now we are pleating it and attaching that to the bottom of the bodice. So the two basting stitches are being on top of each other right now, and these are about 2-inch pleats with about an inch extra under each side. And you're just going to sew this really carefully, and this is a lot of fabric, so make sure you're using a needle appropriate for that and going really slow so that you don't end up breaking your needle, and if you do, it's a lot safer. Anyway, of course, the next step is top stitching. This will again make it look so much nicer, and also since this fabric is really layered now, this will help secure that in place and prevent it from getting awkwardly stuck and make your peplum look a little weird. This will make it look so much better. Now it comes to the installing of grommets. Apparently I'm super weak because it took me like several times to hammer holes, and I was even using my tiny scissors, but I went ahead and installed 4 grommets about maybe 3/4 of an inch apart from each other along each side of the back of my garment. And now here is the finished product. I am so proud. As you can see, it has a lace-up back with the peplum all around with the pleats. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully my instructions were helpful. Bye!